Hi, this is Cheryl Peterson from Healing Science Today. I'm going to read a contemporary Christian Science Bible lesson sermon from the English Standard Version of the Bible, copyrighted by Crossway Bibles, and from 21st Century Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, a modern version of Mary Baker Eddy's Science and Health. Subject: Prepared. Golden text: Psalms. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Isaiah. In the day of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, and the king of Israel, came up to Jerusalem to wage war against it, but could not yet mount an attack against it. When the house of David was told, Syria is in league with Ephraim, the heart of Ahaz and the heart of his people shook as the trees of the forest shake before the wind. And the Lord said to Isaiah, Go out to meet Ahaz, you and Shear-Jashub your son, at the end of the conduit at the upper pool on the highway to the washer's field. And say to him, Be careful, be quiet, do not fear, and do not let your heart be faint because of these two smoldering stumps of firebrands at the fierce anger of Rezin in Syria and the son of Remaliah. Because Syria with Ephraim and the son of Remaliah has devised evil against you, saying, Let us go up against Judah and terrify it, and let us conquer it for ourselves, and set up the son of Tabeel as king in the midst of it. Thus says the Lord God, It shall not stand, and it shall not come to pass, for the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. And within 65 years, Ephraim will be shattered from being a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah. If you are not firm in faith, you will not be firm at all. Again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz, Ask a sign of the Lord your God. Let it be deep as Sheol or high as heaven. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, and I will not put the Lord to the test. And he said, Hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary men, that you weary my God also? Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. He shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. 21st Century Science and Health. We have overwhelming proof that the human mind claims to control every organ of the mortal body. But this mind is a myth and must, by its own consent, yield to truth. Although the human mind throws its weight around, it is powerless. The immortal divine mind takes away all the human mind's assumed expertise and saves human mind from itself. I have endeavored to make the ideas in this book the medicine of mind and body to give hope and healing to the needy, even if they don't know how the work is done. Truth has a healing effect even when not fully understood. Anatomy says thoughts can move the muscles, sometimes. Such non-committal beliefs plague every material theory in which one statement contradicts another. It is related that Sir Humphrey Davy once apparently cured a case of paralysis simply by introducing a thermometer into the patient's mouth. The thermometer was intended to ascertain the patient's body temperature, but the sick man supposed this ceremony was intended to heal him, and he recovered accordingly. Such a fact illustrates that all bodily activity comes from thought, not sometimes, but always. My medical researches and experiments prepared my thought for the metaphysics of divine science. I was searching for truth and discovered that all dependence on temporal medicine failed to help. I now understand why and can see the means by which human beings are divinely driven to a spiritual source for health and happiness. When I experimented with homeopathy, I became skeptical about alternative methods still involving drugs. Books on homeopathy, natural cures, and so on discuss general symptoms and signs of health problems and then suggest different remedies. Homeopathic drugs are diluted to such a degree that not a trace of active ingredient remains, making it obvious that the drug is not removing or changing the symptoms of disease. To cure a patient dying of typhoid fever, I diluted common table salt until the sodium chloride had become tasteless. 1 drop of the attenuation in a cup of water and a teaspoon of the water administered at intervals of 3 hours proved that the active ingredient went from matter to mind. The drug was not the curative power. This discovery leads to more light, and we can learn whether human faith or divine mind is the healer. You say shingles are painful, but that is impossible because matter without mind is not painful. Shingles simply manifest through eruptions and rashes a belief in pain, and this belief is called shingles. Now, administer mentally to your patient a high attenuation of truth, and it will soon cure shingles. The fact that pain can't exist where there is no human mind to feel it is a proof that this mind makes its own pain, that is, its own belief in pain. We cry because others cry, we yawn because they yawn, and we have the flu because others have it. But human mind, not matter, contains and carries the infection. When this mental contagion is understood, we will be more careful with our mental conditions. We will avoid continually talking about disease, just as we would avoid advocating crime. It is to our advantage never to let sympathy and society tempt us to cherish error in any form, and certainly we should not be error's advocate. Diseases appear like other mental states through association. Erroneous thoughts connect to one another, and the condition is classified as a disease. Some diseases are regarded as contagious. Contagion is a human activity where sick thoughts are copied and pasted from one mind and body to another. Illustrations can be found to show how contagion is fickle. Dr. Albert Schweitzer has been quoted to say, "Serious illness doesn't bother me for long because I am too inhospitable a host." Whereas some people will catch a contagious disease without coming into contact with the disease germs. If a child is exposed to a contagious disease, the parent is frightened and says, "My child will get sick." The law of human mind and the parent's fears control the child more than the child's mind. The sickness might have been prevented with different thinking. Our responses need improvement. If we typically say things like, "Oh, you look sick, you must be tired," or "You need a pill." Why do people run to a child who has fallen and whine childishly, "Oh, poor thing, I know you hurt"? The better and more successful response to adopt is, "You're okay, let's think about what's good." Soon the child forgets all about the accident and is directed to positive activity. Why do drugs cause recovery? Because, according to the faith, will be the effect. A mass general belief, culminating in individual faith, heals. Even if you take away the individual's confidence in the drug, you have not yet divorced the drug from the collective faith. Mass consciousness, including the pharmacist, the chemist, the doctor, and the person on the street, equips the medicine with their faith in the drug and gives it the upper hand. To overcome the collective thinking, individual dissent or faith must rest on science. Otherwise, the belief is governed by the majority, not the minority. Mark. On that day when evening had come, Jesus said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And, leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? And he awoke and rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. He said to them, Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith? And they were filled with great fear, and said to one another, Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? 21st century science and health. Through divine science, religion and medicine are inspired with a more God-like nature and essence. Science gives new strength to faith and understanding, and thoughts intelligently acquaint themselves with God. We are inundated with feelings and the false consciousness that life exists in the material body, yet we remember that in reality God is our life and consciousness. We look at human events and timidly realize the day will come when we say, I find no pleasure in them. How does the heavenly conviction of spiritual existence come about? How is a conviction so antagonistic to the testimony of the physical senses experienced? According to Paul, it is the gift of God's grace given me through the working of his power. Neil Diamond Walsh, author of The New Revelations, A Conversation with God, wrote, Divine inspiration is the birthright of every human being. This demonstrative principle points to the revelation of Emmanuel, God with us, the sovereign ever-presence, delivering humanity from every ill that flesh is heir to. A faith in mortality attracts the mind to the subject of sickness by exciting fear of disease and by dosing the body with chemicals to avoid a problem. Faith can, however, find a stronger support and a higher home in spirit. If we understood the control of mind over body, we should put no faith in material means. Science not only reveals the source of all disease as mental, but it also declares that all disease is cured by divine mind. Human fear of pollution would load the air of Eden with disease. Fear weighs down humanity with superimposed and conjectural evils. Human mind is the worst enemy of the body, while divine mind is its best friend. Human mind and body are one. Neither exist without the other, and both must be replaced by spiritual mind. A material body is an embodied concept of human mind. This mortal mind builds its own superstructure, of which the fleshly body is the denser portion. From first to last, the body is a sensuous, mythical human concept. Whoever reaches the understanding of divine science in its proper signification will perform the sudden cures of which it is capable. Nevertheless, this can be done only by facing and overcoming fears and mistaken thoughts, and following divine spirit in our everyday experiences. The advent of Jesus of Nazareth marked the first century of the Christian era, but Christ's Spirit is without beginning of years or end of days. Throughout all generations, both before and after the Christian era, the Christ, as the divine idea, the reflection of God, has come with some degree of power and grace to all prepared to receive the Messiah, or truth. Love prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Love anoints my head with oil. My cup overflows.